Men are good, as are you.
Indeed, men are good, as are you. And today we're going to talk about soccer. Soccer, and more soccer. Equal pay for all. U.S. soccer reaches historic bargaining agreement with women's and men's teams. Historic equal pay deal for U.S. men and women footballers. U.S. soccer agrees on historic equal pay CBAs with women's and men's national teams. Let's spin that just a little differently. U.S. soccer agrees on gynocentric equal pay CBAs with women's and men's national teams. You know, the women soccer players have been pushing for equal pay because they felt they were discriminated against because they were women. Does that make sense to you? In all the sports I've ever known, football, baseball, basketball, all of them, everyone is paid based on their skill level, based on what they can produce, based on how good they are, how fast they are, how agile they are, all those things, right? And that's what people want to go and pay to see. People want to go to the World Series where you see the best compete with the best. This is where we put our money, right? Well, the women's team has won like 4 World Cups so far for the Women's World Cup. Now, that sounds good, and it is an impressive accomplishment, but wait a minute. The women's side of soccer is simply not as talented as the male side. It's more like minor league. It's kind of like a minor league. And we do not pay minor league players the same thing we pay major league players, right? Yeah. Also, we pay people based on skill. If a pitcher has won the Cy Young Award, he's going to make a lot of money. If he's got the strikeout record, he's going to make a lot of money. And this is how we pay people, based on skill levels, not on whether they're a man or a woman. But the female soccer players have tried to spin this in a way where they're saying they're discriminated against. There's a pay gap. There's a pay gap in soccer between men and women. Well, wait a minute. I don't buy that at all. But let's look at something here. Hang on.
According to the lawsuit, if each team played and won 20 non-tournament games a year, female players would earn a maximum of $99,000, while similarly ranked male players would earn an average of more than $260,000.
Uh-oh. So this is the kind of misinformation that they've been spinning. See, they're trying to say that just because they're women, they get paid less money. By the way, the 2 female soccer players were on this particular clip later, and they didn't disagree. They didn't point this out. But what should they have pointed out? They should have pointed out that the women, the female players, had negotiated a contract that said they would have a guaranteed $100,000 a year, right? The male said, nah, we don't want that. We don't want a guaranteed salary. We want to take risks. We want to say, if we score these amount of goals, then we get more money. If we win these amount of games, then we get more money. So if they had won 20 games, they would have made a lot more. But guess what? If this had been each team had lost 20 games, the women still would have made $99,000. The men would have made probably something like 0. So can you see how they're spinning it in such a way that they leave out the details and they make it sound like poor women are being discriminated against, when actually, if you look at the facts of the matter, it's BS. Let's go on a little farther here.
The lawsuit also highlights pay discrepancy at the World Cup, alleging that the pay was so skewed that when the men's team lost in round 16 of the World Cup in 2014, they received bonuses totaling more than $5 million. The following year, when the women won it all, they received less than $2 million. And overnight.
Huh. So they got a lot less. I wonder why. Well, let me tell you why. Guess what the TV revenue was for the female World Cup? It was $131 million. That's a lot of money, right? So the World Cup, the female World Cup, brought in $131 million in TV revenue. But guess what the male World Cup brought in? $6 billion. Now, who are you going to pay? Are you going to pay the people who make you $6 billion? You're going to pay them more? Or are you going to pay the people with $131 million more? No, 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 no. Of course you're going to pay the people who make more money for you. It's just ridiculous. It's just crazy. But the other thing is that there's physical differences between men and women that make women always more of a minor league team in sports because they're not as gifted physically. And there's a really interesting website that points this out. Let me show you a little bit of that. Here it is. It's boysvswomen.com, boysversuswomen.com, and it is a fascinating site. But here, look at these charts. They've got the blue charts there. The blue lines are the boys, the nationally ranked boys, the best boys in the United States, running 100 meters, ran it at faster times than all of the Olympic girls, Olympic women, right? Same thing with 200 meters. These young boys ran it faster than the women did. Now they've gone a step farther, and it's pretty interesting stuff. They looked at what's the women's world record for the 200 meters? 21.34. Okay, but guess what? The best 14-year-old boy in the country ran that 200 meters in 20.89. He beat the women's world record, a 14-year-old. And it gets better and better as you go up farther and farther there. I mean, this is amazing, right? And the mile, the women's world record, the best woman ever to run the mile, did it in 4 hours, 12 minutes, and 33 seconds. But a 15-year-old boy in the United States ran it in 4 hours, 8 minutes, and 0.80 seconds, whatever. I mean, you get the idea. I mean, the boys are beating the women's world's record. How about that? Isn't that unusual? So, of course, the boys and men are going to be the major league teams, and the women and girls are probably going to be the minor league because they just simply are not as gifted physically. And that's just the way it is. Minor league, major league. Now, let's go to baseball just a second. Here's a minor league baseball game. Man, it looks nice, right? Or $10 hot dogs and $12 beers, and everybody has a good time. There's probably, 2,000, 3,000 people there in the stands, and people are having a good time following this team, right? Yeah, now how much does each player in the minor leagues make? $14,000 a year. That ain't very much money. But they love doing what they're doing. They love the chance to be able to prove to people they're good enough to get into the major leagues. So $14,000 a year for a minor league team. But then you go up to the majors, and instead of being 2,000 or 3,000 people at the games, you get 50,000 to 60,000 people at the game. So you think they'd get paid more, right? What do you think the minimum payment is for a major league ball player? $600,000 minimum salary. That's a lot more than 14. Why do they get more money? Because they're better at it. But wait a minute. Those minor leaguers, they can say, I'm playing the same game. Why am I not paid as much as those major leaguers? This is not fair. I'm playing the same game. Why am I not getting more money? Oh boy. And a part of the reason is that we are in the process as a culture of destroying merit. We're destroying being paid more for doing well. And we're starting to say, oh, you should be paid more because you're a woman. Oh, you should be paid more because of your race. You should be paid more of this, not because of how well you do, but because of some characteristic you have. This is nutty. And if you want to learn about this, his book, The Destructivists by William Collins, is just an excellent piece on how we have destructed merit in this country, along with, I think, 10 other things that the woke industry, he calls them the woke industrial complex, has destroyed in our country. Anyway, I'm getting way off the topic. Baseball players, Major League Baseball players make a lot of money because they're very good at what they do. They are gifted. This is what brings people out. People want to see someone who's gifted. They're going to pay more money for that, and therefore we're going to pay more money for people who are in the major leagues. Right. Now, is there a profession that's the opposite of this, where it's the men who make less money and the women who make more money for the same job? I wish there was. Then we could see if the men were as bitter and resentful as the women seem to be about this whole wage gap thing. Yeah. Well, guess what? Male modeling is indeed an example where men get paid lots less money for doing the same damn job. Have a look at this.
Forbes.com has examined how much the top male models make compared to the top female models. Number one on the men's list, Sean O'Pry, earned $1.5 million in the last year. Not bad, but Gisele Bundchen raked in $42 million. And the disparity continues down the ranks.
So on average, male models make around $200,000 to $500,000 a year. For females, they'll make around $2 million to $5 million.
Wait a minute. Females make $2 to $5 million a year, and males make $200,000 to $500,000. My math says that men are making 10 cents on the dollar for the same work. How about that? 10 cents on a dollar. Gracious goodness. Now, what happens when people hear that men are maybe discriminated against because of their sex in this particular profession? What do you think happens?
I found the only industry where women get paid more than men.
They laugh. I found an industry where women get paid more than men. She laughs. Ho, 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 ho. This is funny. This is funny, right? Yeah.
He has also been ranked as the world's top model. But even with all that, he doesn't begrudge the success of his female counterparts.
Hey, I don't have to wear high heels and I don't have to wear bikinis, so I mean, more power to the ladies.
He doesn't begrudge them. More power to the ladies, he says. Do you sense even a shred of resentment in his voice or bitterness? No. The guy's saying, I'm doing my job. I'm making money. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. They're more successful with more money. Good for them. More power to them, he says. Wow.
I'm very happy with my career. I mean, I'm not gonna be complaining about, not making $42 million. At the end of the day, I'm very, very blessed with what I do have.
Oprah.
I'm blessed with what I do. Remember, this is a top male model. This is a guy who's making over $1 million a year. And he's not upset at all about the women doing the same job, but making more money. A stark contrast to what we see with the women complaining about, not being paid because they're women. Interesting, I thought. I hope you found it interesting too. But there's one more thing that I wanted to bring up about this whole thing, and that's this is an article in The Guardian. The women's team got equal pay, but not everyone in the U.S. soccer is happy. And the article is about half of the people in the U.S. Soccer Federation are not really happy with what's going on. In fact, a lot of them are pissed off about the fact that the women would kneel at the games. I mean, that really pissed off a lot of people, including myself. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But there's another thing that they're worried about. It turns out that the U.S. Soccer Federation is not just involved in the men's national team and the women's national team. They're involved in trying to promote the sport via youth and what's happening in the youth, and therefore doing things like paying for referees, paying for fields, getting things going, getting kids excited about playing soccer. And in fact, these are the organizations: United States Specialty Sports Association, United States Youth Soccer Association, American Youth Soccer Organization, U.S. Soccer Club, blah, 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 blah. Turns out these people are not at all happy about what's happening right now, because in this agreement, the U.S. Soccer Federation is giving $22 million to the female players for whatever, who knows whatever. But these people are saying, wait, some of that money could easily be used for building up the sport. And both the male and the female players, are being somewhat greedy in not really looking at how can we grow the sport. They're thinking of themselves and not of the sport in general. Yeah, indeed. Not thinking of the sport in general. And interesting stuff, right? And let's not forget, men are good, as are you. Come see me on Locals. I'm at Locals now. We're having a really good time there. There's things on Locals you won't see anyplace else. So come check it out. It's a really interesting place, getting more and more interesting-er. And men are good. We'll see you then.
Men are good, as are you.